Yes, it is live now, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to today's hearing for Blondin Park and Community Pavilion. My name is Councillor Munir Ahmed and I shall be chairing the meeting. My colleagues, Councillor Parveen Anand, Councillor Rima Baklini, and I comprise today's subcommittee. Hatun Zeb is the legal advisor to the subcommittee. Sean O'Brien is the Democratic Service Officer who is the clerk to the subcommittee and who will be minuting the meeting. Before I introduce the application, can I ask everyone to introduce themselves? The applicant, Linda Massey, can you introduce yourself, please, or your agent, Nick Semper? Can you put your microphone on and introduce yourself, please?
Good morning. My name is Nick Semper and I am the representative of the applicant this morning, and I can see Linda's down there. Her camera's on. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I also have Karen Jenkins. No? Okay. The responsible authorities, can I ask the responsible authorities, can I ask the PC Hussain to introduce?
Good morning, Chair. PC Vicky Hewison on the police licensing team.
Thank you. We've got also Mimi Stupu from Noise and Nuisance. Mimi, can you?
Good morning, everyone. Mimi Stupu from the Noise and Nuisance team.
Thank you. Now, members of the public, I have few names. Raj Kapoor. Is Raj Kapoor there?
Morning, I certainly am. I'm Raj Kapoor, the Chair of Ealing Fields Residents Association and Chair of the North Fields Police Ward panel. Morning.
Thank you. Morning. Luke Alford of John Grant and Partners Solicitors.
Very good morning to you, councillors, officers. My name is Luke Elford. I am a solicitor representing Mr. Charles Hawes and Miss Adele Casey. Good morning.
Good morning. Gillian Smith.
Morning, everyone. I'm a resident of Swinkham Avenue that will be significantly impacted by this licence. So I'm glad to be attending. Thank you.
Denise De Angelis. Denise, can you switch on your microphone? Yeah. We can't hear you, Denise.
Sorry.
Denise, yeah.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Here.
Can you put your camera on for a little while?
Yes. While using only. Yes. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm Denise De Angelis. I'm a resident of Windmill Road.
Okay, we'll pause. Becky Hartnett.
I'm Becky Hartnett. I'm a resident of Niagara Avenue.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's all the names I've got. So I'll start introducing the report. You would have all received or seen the agenda pack within which is contained the licensing officer report with details of the application in section 1. To confirm, we are dealing with the new premises license application in relation to Blondin Park and Community Pavilion, Blondin Park, Windmill Road, Ealing, W5 4UR.
Chair, we cannot hear you.
Can't hear me?
Now it's better.
Which part did you miss? I said we note the following representations objecting to the applications have been received. One representation has been received from the Metropolitan Police Service. One representation has been received from the Pollution Control Team. Representation has been received from the Environmental Health Team, and 72 objections have been received from the members of the public. The subcommittee have read all objector submission in the agenda and will take them into consideration as written evidence when making the
I don't know if this is the same for everyone else, but the chair keeps freezing for me. I'm terribly sorry.
Yes, Chair, we lost you. The last sentence you said, we lost what you said.
the sub
You've gone again, Chairman.
Can't hear you, Chair.
Let me just take this off and see if that works better. Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Chair,
much
we
better.
can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, I will try this way and see if it works better. And
Yes,
let me know.
yes. No, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, so the subcommittee have read all objector submission in the agenda and will take them into consideration as written evidence when making their decision. Now, before I go to the applicant and ask them to present their application, I must say I visited the park myself yesterday. I visited the pavilion to look at the environment. What I realized was that I was the one who opened this pavilion when I was mayor of Ealing in 2022, I think. So I'm well aware of the location and the area. But unfortunately, I had no contact after that. So I visited it again to see the circumstances to better understand the application. Okay, now I want to invite the
Chair, just before we start, can I ask all the applicant and applicant's agent and all responsible authorities to keep the camera on just for the recording?
Okay, have you heard all of those who have been requested to keep the camera on? Sorry, who do you want? A responsible authority?
Yes, so just the applicant, the agent, and the responsible authorities.
Okay, applicant, agent, and responsible authorities, if you can keep your cameras on, please.
Thank you.
Mimi? Mimi, can you hear me?
Yeah, my camera is on. No?
John, are they on now?
Can you see me? My camera is on.
No,
Yeah.
Mimi, I can't see you.
Chair, we can see her and we can see
We can see you.
PCVT as well.
Yes.
Okay, okay. It might be a different screen. There are quite few, so I might be on a different screen, but that's fine. Okay, now can I ask the applicant Linda Massey to present her application and to introduce any witnesses? Now, just to explain, the procedure will be as follows. I will be asking the applicant to present their report. Once they have presented the report, then the floor will be open to questions. Once that is done, then the next stage would be the responsible authority will present their report, and any questions will be asked. After that, the objectors will be asked to present their objections, and there'll be a question sessions. Once that is done, then the responsible authority and the objectors will be asked to sum up the case. Once they have sum up, then the applicant will sum up the case, and then at the conclusion, the subcommittee with the clerk and the legal advisor will retire to consider their decision, and the decision will be given at some time during the day. But if we can't reach the decision, then it will be sent within 5 working days in writing. So now, can I ask the applicant to present their report and introduce if they've got any objectors?
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name's Nick, and from the licensing guys, and we're representing the applicant here today, being the Friends of Boston Manor Limited, here in the person of Mrs. Linda Massey. By way of introduction, this organisation has cared for the park and provided a pavilion at Blondin Park since inception, and have hosted an annual event called Brentford Festival since 2005. Seemingly, this pavilion and the festival have operated without attracting a single recorded crime or ASB incident in all that time. Now, the purpose of this application is to license the pavilion and the annual festival. We believe, we'll deal with both separately for the purposes of explanation and illustration. Now, the pavilion itself is a multi-use venue which hosts everything from yoga classes to celebrations of life events. Such celebrations have in the past involved hirers bringing their own alcohol to give away to their guests, or for organisers to apply for temporary event notices should they require a paid-for bar. Licensing the pavilion in its own right would allow the applicant to retail their own alcohol to hirers, rather than the hirers making their own arrangements. Nothing will change as to the events held within, as this facility is for private hire or special events to restricted invitees only. There is no intention of turning the pavilion into a Wetherspoons, a sports bar, or a banging nightclub. The boundaries of the licensable activities therein are constrained by the perimeter of the building itself. The representatives will see that the time of the pavilion is open to the public remains exactly the same, i.e. 08:30 till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The requests for regulated entertainment and late night refreshment only applies to these private events specified. These events have been going on for years without any issue. The only difference is that this new premises license will make it so that the Friends of Boston Manor can provide them themselves going forwards. Now, the second part of the premises license application is to allow for the Brentford Festival to go ahead in the park for 1 day a year between 12 o'clock lunchtime and 6 o'clock tea time. The anticipated footfall for the entire event is between 8,000 to 10,000 persons, but nobody expects more than 2,000 persons to be on site at any given moment. This is nothing new, as the festival has passed off without any incident for the past 18 years. It is a free, family-friendly fun day, which provides a valuable showcase to local organisations and charities, to the communities which they serve. What has changed this year is that the council are no longer willing to allow for the festival to proceed under the authority of temporary event notices, as it has in the past, due to that footfall number. Now, as it happens, 3 temporary event notices have already been issued for this year's festival, as usual. Therefore, this festival will go ahead anyway, despite whatever happens at this hearing. The grant of a premises licence would simply allow regulated entertainment to take place as part of that festival. The regulated entertainment entailed is live and recorded music, the showcasing of local musicians, youth talent and whatever to audiences of more than 500 persons. The usual gospel choirs and brass bands simply do not require authorisations, as they are for the most part unamplified and therefore constitute unregulated forms of entertainment. The consumption area is extended for 6 hours on this particular day to encompass the extent of the festival site. Now, there's been some confusion on behalf of the objectors, as licensing law and procedures are very specialised areas. I don't really need to tell you that, members of the panel, because you're members of the licensing subcommittee, you'll all receive detailed specialist training to allow you to perform your functions on behalf of the licensing authority. And throughout the process, we have engaged with the objectors. They've reached out to us and corresponded with us, explaining what this application is all about. Notwithstanding that, positions of entrenched opposition have been adopted, and we therefore welcome this hearing as an opportunity to explain to everyone what this application actually entailed. Now, as you'll be aware, each application must be judged on its own facts and merits. The significant merits of this application, it's a quality application for a popular facility in an annual event, correctly conditioned with specific, appropriate and proportionate control measures, thus minimising any potential that any licence and objective would be undermined. Right. In this hearing, the burden is on the applicant, i.e. me and Linda, to show that proposed operations supported by the proposed operating schedule is capable of promoting the licence and objectives and is unlikely to undermine them. Any representatives opposing the application have the burden to show that these premises trading under the operating schedule before you will undermine the licence and objectives and demonstrate that with evidence. In our submission, any subcommittee properly advised could only refuse this application if it is found on the evidence of the representatives to be not capable of promoting the licence and objectives. So you may ask yourself, why do the representatives, aka objectors, need to produce evidence? And the answer to that is found in para 9.43 to section 182 guidance, which clearly states, and I quote, that the authority's determination, i.e. your decision, should be evidence-based, justified as being appropriate for the promotion of licensing objectives and proportionate to what it is intended to achieve. Significantly, there's not a shred of empirical evidence in the comprehensive hearing papers today, which challenges, criticises, or for the most part even references the operating schedule, the applicant, or the designated premises supervisor whatsoever. There is absolutely no concern evidenced involving these premises regarding licensable activities or this applicant or any other previous operations before you. That is an undeniable and self-evident fact. So first, we have 3 representations from the responsible authorities, being PC Hewison from the police, Ms Stupu from the Noise and Nuisance team, and Ms McLaughlin from the Food and Workplace Safety team. I'll deal with each of those in turn if I may. We have enjoyed some productive liaison with PC Hewison during the consultation period and agreed all her conditions, her revised conditions. She accepts that there is no history whatsoever of crime and disorder or ASB from the festival and does not challenge the extremely low, the crime and ASB incident stats for the park are extremely low, less than 0.2 incident per month. We were therefore a bit disappointed at the end of the consultation period that she filed a representation, but we understand that she felt she needed to. She believes that there might be noise leakage from the pavilion were they to host regulated entertainment, and she suggests that the festival organizer should involve a greater element of SIA, that's door staff, to ensure security at the festival. Now, on that we say there has been no noise nuisance offences involving regulated entertainment in the past within the pavilion, and that despite there never being any security issues in the last 19 years, the event's history, the festival's history, an SIA element is actively being considered by the applicant as part of the event management plan in our liaison with the safety advisory group covering Ealing. The Stupu echoes concerns about possible noise leakage from the premises, but provides no evidence of noise nuisance ever happening during that past usage of the pavilion, save for three noise complaints that I'll deal with in just a minute. Ms Stupu tells us that prior to the application being made, we filed the application on the 2nd of July this year, There has never been a single noise nuisance complaint regarding the use of the pavilion since its construction and throughout its frequent use for like events. And then on the 3rd of August this year, there were suddenly 3 complaints recorded in one evening. Duly, her officers attended, monitored the sound, and found that levels emanating from the pavilion were reasonable. The event itself was no rave, no mad party, no bad behaviour involved. It was actually a christening party that some people thought was too noisy. Therefore, we actually have no history. We have a history of there only ever being 3 complaints on one evening about one event being a christening, but the officers deployed found no evidence of noise nuisance themselves, and there's been no noise nuisance complaints ever since. Now, Ms. Thupu also requires a noise management plan to be added to the event management plan for the festival. That's now been done, sort of done by return, really, and we're yet to hear from her whether that noise management plan meets her expectations. Now, Ms. McLaughlin has objected on the grounds of public safety and the protection of children from harm. Put simply, she finds the events management plan unfit for purpose. Her concerns to do with the festival. Okay, the festival event team have produced a document each year, and in the sight of the event umbrella, who are the council's own contractors on the production of event management plans, and they've certainly offered guidance. So in the past, they've submitted emergency management, event management plans for each festival on an annual basis, and never has a previous plan been refused. The Brentford Festival has passed off without issue since 2005, and nothing has changed this year, save that we've applied for a premises licence at the request of Ealing Council. Now, I venture to posit the theory with respect that all that's really changed from 2005 to the present is the council's posture to risk. Like I say, this is a low frequency, low impact, low hazard, and therefore low risk event, which has never caused any problem with public safety or harms to children in the past. No change is anticipated this year to that which has gone on for every year since inception. This event will go ahead this year anyway, under the authority of the temporary event notices already issued. I therefore respectfully request, that Ms McLaughlin re-engages with the events umbrella going forward with the safety advisory group, and that the event management plan reflects the actual hazards posed to public safety and protecting children from harm, and assists us all in mitigating the risks associated with any real hazards in a realistic and proportionate manner. Now, we are then left with the 72 public representations. These no doubt come from good people, and we need to think carefully about what they're complaining about and how relevant they are to the current application before you. Now, I'll break down the arguments raised by in each by heading rather than personalising it, and I will then deal with each in turn. Now, regarding the use of pavilion, the breakdown of concerns are as follows. 48 worry about ASB, drunkenness and drugs. 47 worry about noise pollution. 42 worry about the psychological harm to children. 35 worry about crime disorder. 34 worry about excessive hours. 16 worry about traffic. 13 worry about taking business from the 2 pubs nearby. 12 worry about CCTV and lighting. 11 worry about no planning permission. 11 worry about detriment to the environment and wildlife. 8 worry about lack of parking. 5 worry about loitering. 3 worry about inexperienced volunteers running the bar. 2 worry about lack of food hygiene, and 1 each worries about no emergency access, the need for extra policing resources, 1 on moral and religious grounds, and the last one, too much light being generated on the site. Okay, big numbers. So let's break that down. These premises, I've got to be absolutely clear on this, Chair and panel, everyone. These premises will never be a public bar, simply a licensed event space. The pavilion has been used for the consumption. The pavilion has been used for the consumption of alcohol at private celebrations since it was built. There is no change in hours entailed, as the hours open to the public remain 8:30 till 4 o'clock daily. We've searched the Home Office crime mapper for ASB data. In the whole of the past 3 years, there have only ever been 8 incidents, not necessarily crimes, but incidents reported in the whole of the park. That's less than 0.2 incidents per month. That is an unbelievably low crime and ASB return. So why are we expecting the formalisation of alcohol sales by the Friends of Boston Manor from a small bar to guests at private events of a maximum capacity of 80 persons to suddenly cause an explosion in crime and ASB and public nuisance issues, which will cause psychological harm to children? There's simply no evidence to support such a prospect. As concerns those other matters, traffic and parking issues simply do not speak to any of the licensing objectives. Economic damage to the two pubs nearby, why will they be damaged? And this will never be a public bar and therefore cannot compete with them. And para 14.19, the section 182 guidance tells us that commercial demand is not a matter for the licensing authority anyway. Now, again, and with respect, a lot of respect in my mouth, what has food hygiene, wildlife, volunteer bar staff, or an individual's moral and religious concerns got to do with the licensing objectives? CCTV, now those conditions are already agreed with the police. And lastly, planning. As you're aware, para 14.65 of the section 182 guidance tells us that planning permission, building control and approval and licensing regimes will be properly separated. Therefore, planning is not a matter for the licensing committee and should be dealt with by the planning authority, and consequently this, as with many other worries enunciated in all those reps, is simply an irrelevant consideration here today. Right. Okay, let's now turn to the objections regarding this innocuous, well-loved, free Family Fun Day festival. Okay, luckily there's a lot less to wade through. 7 object to possible noise pollution, 3 to ASB, drunkenness and drugs, 3 to a lack of SIA, 2 worry about crime disorder, 2 worry about a lack of toilets, 2 claim there are sufficient events going on elsewhere, 2 worry about the sufficiency of the event management plan, 1 worries about lack of food hygiene, and 1 worries about children's safeguarding, and finally 1 worries about traffic. Let's break that down again. Noise pollution. There have never been any noise complaints in the past concerning this festival. I'm sorry that it's not everybody's cup of tea, I get it, but I'm sorry that the showcase for local youth musical talent, gospel choirs and brass bands offends the ears of some. But frankly, that is the nature of free fun days in the park. And this one only takes place between 12 o'clock lunchtime and 6 o'clock tea time on 1 Sunday per year. Crime and disorder, ASB, drunkenness and drugs and lack of SIA. Let's touch on that then. You'll be surprised to hear, well, if you will actually, bear in mind you live there, but there are no recorded incidents of any such crime, disorder or similar in the entire history of the event since 2005. It is true, once many years ago, somebody did turn up drunk, but Linda, who's there on your camera there, she told him to go and he did without any fuss. Now, to worry about lack of toilets, that's being discussed as part of the event management plan, along with a SIA. That said, our experience is that most attendees are local to the area and pop home if they need the toilet anyway. Now, 2 claim there are sufficient events put on elsewhere. That's hardly a reason to deny the local community this event and does not speak to any of the licensing objectives anyway, nor incidentally to perceived worries about lack of food hygiene or traffic. In any event, most attendees arrive on foot. So, in summary, committee, I'll ask to remind you that, again, this is an evidence-based decision-making process. Yes, there are 72 objections, but don't be unduly swayed by that number, because this is not a test by volume, but a test of the evidence. There is simply no empirical evidence before you of pre-existing problems, or that the licensing objectives will have ever been undermined, or ever will be going forwards into the future. I'd like to talk to you very briefly, if you'll allow me, on fear and speculation. The representatives speculate that were you to grant this licence, and they fear that there may be problems upstream. There are 2 main reasons why fear and speculation are not admissible in these proceedings, I venture to suggest. Firstly, para 9.43, as I've already touched on in the 182 guidance, states that your decision should be evidence-based. Fear and speculation about what might or might not happen at some undisclosed point in the future, or as a consequence of any decision today, is clearly not on evidence. That is fear and speculation. It's not evidence-based. And secondly, there was a ruling in the stated case of Daniel Thwaites and Wirral Borough Magistrates in the High Court back in 2008, where the judge, Her Honour Justice Black, She handed down a judgment, and that judgment indicates that your decision making should be actuated by proper and real evidence. There is no history of problems with these premises or with this applicant. Nothing before you from the responsible authorities that talk to a history of crime and disorder or noise complaints, established noise nuisance, I should say, and the potential for any such issues is more than properly addressed in the proposed conditions. Now, in any event, Parliament has already provided a mechanism to deal with any future problems should they emanate regarding licensable activities from these or indeed any other premises. That's the premises licence review provided by Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003, and I know that you are not scared, no, reluctant to apply that act and section because I've appeared before you in the past in review hearings. So were you to grant this licence and were problems to ensue, and we're saying they won't incidentally, but were they to, then the mechanism to control them is self-evidently provided already through the aforementioned Section 51 review process. So look, I've spoken to you for about 10-15 minutes now. I'll rest here and let other people have a say, and I'll deal with any other issues probably in summary. So thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm going to ask responsible authorities if they have any questions. Maybe you want to start?
Please, Chair. Thank you. I've only two questions. Is mainly with regards to hiring out the pavilion. I just want to clarify if there'll be any regulated entertainment in the outdoor area. I think there was a bit of a confusion with the application being a combined, being for both events. Just wanted to confirm if you're going to have regulated entertainment in the well, I'm not going to say how I understood it, but I just wanted mainly for the residents to understand if that's going to be associated with the outdoor area for the pavilion.
Okay, that's really quite a long question. You're asking, is there going to be any regulated entertainment outside the confines of the pavilion? If that's what it is, I'm saying no.
Okay, that's why I wanted. I think some residents understood that there would be some regulated entertainment in the outdoor area, not just for. I understood it as being in the festival area. And just one.
Hang on. Clearly, there'll be regulated entertainment in the festival area between 1200 hours and 1800 hours on that one Sunday a year. Okay,
of course.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
All the events you mentioned that you're hiring out the pavilion is regarding those events in this for the pavilion. You've mentioned about the christening. They're not allowed to play music in the outdoor area. Let's say if it's hired out until 11 p.m. or midnight, they're not able to play music in the park. Is that correct?
That's my understanding of it, ma'am, yes.
Okay. Just one more quick question. Would it be possible to know how many events roughly the applicant had, let's say last year? Was the pavilion hired out every weekend or every other weekend? Just a rough number, if that's possible.
Linda, I don't know if you can help us with that, please. How many times did you rent the place out last year?
Linda, can you hear? Linda, can you switch on your microphone, please?
I don't think she's on the call anymore.
I think she's.
Oh, she is. Yeah.
She has raised hand, but she's frozen. Councillor Bacchilini, you've got some.
Thank you, Chair. I think Linda's on mute. If we just.
Yeah, no, Linda's.
Anyway, I was going to ask Mr. Semper. Thank you so much for the very thorough explanation.
Can we wait for that, Councillor Bacchilini?
Oh, you want to wait for Linda? No problem.
Yeah. I've got a few more people to ask questions, and then we'll come to that. Thank you. We can't hear Linda. Mr. Semper, you want to clarify that and come back in a little while we move on to.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. She's clearly got some technical issues there. Certainly she was able to speak before, but you see the camera's gone a bit sort of blurry, really. I don't know. All I do know, Mimi, is that it's a regular event, okay, and it's something that they wish to formalise rather than people bringing their own alcohol or bringing their own bar with them. Okay, so that's the best I can, in the absence of Linda, that's the best answer I can give.
It would be important to speak to Linda, because we need to get this.
Quite. I don't know whether she needs to leave the meeting and then rejoin it. Maybe if your back team can assist us with that.
Sean.
Yeah, so her mic is on, but I think she might have to leave as she's done so.
Okay.
So we should wait for her to rejoin.
Mimi, you want to ask any other question while we are waiting, or shall we wait?
No, those are my only two questions.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Well, let's give another minute or so to see if you can rejoin.
I'll just try and call her on a mobile. I'll get the answer to that, even if I can't reconnect her. Okay.
Yeah, if you can. I can see some other hands raised, but I have to follow the order. So when it comes to the objectors, then I will be giving them opportunity to ask questions.
Hello, sir. I'm awfully sorry. I've not been able to raise her on a mobile. She's probably got it on mute, like the rest of us. So, so we are where we are at the moment. Technology.
Okay. Okay. Hattie, can we continue the meeting without the applicant being online?
So Ms. Massey is represented by Mr. Semper, and if Mr. Semper is happy to proceed in her absence until she joins back online, I don't see any reason why we can't continue. And when Ms. Massey is able to come back online, then Mimi's questions can be put to her to clarify that point. But we can continue as far as I can see on this. Mr. Semper taking a different view.
Thank you. Mr. Semper, shall we continue without?
Yeah, but she's actually, I can see her image on page 2 of the little TV screens. And yeah, she's there now. She just can't be heard. Oh, what a shame. Okay, yeah, well, look, we'll press on.
Linda, can you switch off your camera and switch on your microphone and see if that works? No, your microphone you need to switch on. I can see you talking.
So on the top right, you have the next to the leave meeting button, there's the microphone. I think that should be on, but if you click the little arrow next to that, I'll give you an option to select your select what microphone you're using.
She did speak in the beginning. She introduced herself. So no, we can't hear you. Okay, well, if you can hear us, if you can speak to Mr. Semper.
Chair, may I suggest something? If Linda can hear us, maybe she puts her reply in chat.
Yeah, well, she can. If she can hear us, she can speak to her representative on telephone, and then they can sort it out. We'll move on. Mimi, have you finished your questions?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Okay, we'll wait for your other question to answer. I'm going to go on to police now. PC Hussain, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I've got just one question, to be honest. Actually, I've got two. I'll split it into two parts. If we start for the festival part first, are you considering, did I hear you right that the applicant is considering SIA for the festival? And if she is, how many has she got in mind?
Yes, I believe. I'm not clear on that because she's not here. She is certainly in discussions with an SIA company, but that will be subject of the event management plan in consultation with the safety advisory group. I'm not sure you'd necessarily put it into the license at this stage, as all those issues, including toilets and whatever, would be covered in the EMP. Okay. Yeah,
no, that's fine. And the other one, did I hear right that so the maximum capacity for the pavilion for private events is that 80?
Yeah, that was my understanding of it, ma'am. But in the absence of I should say Vicky, sorry, but in the absence of Linda, you know, it would be so useful for her to tell us. But I'm texting her, but she's not picking up. So we are where we are.
She has sent a message. She said she is trying to change her computer. So I've told her she can put a message in writing as well. So let's see how it goes.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Well done.
Okay, I've got no further questions, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Praveen, you need to speak.
Oh, I need to get advice from legal.
Yeah.
Hattie, I've just heard that there is no event management plan, and we are in a hearing where we have to decide on the application. Can you kindly advise on this, please?
Councillor Allen, what is it that you're specifically asking me? Are you asking
me?
Do
we have a event management plan for this application that we can actually the latest event management plan?
So I can't give you that information. That's information that the applicant will be able to provide you. Whether it's a consideration for you, your considerations have been helpfully summarised by Mr. Semper. I won't repeat it all, but it's the licensing objectives that you're considering in view of the application that's been presented to you and the objections that you're going to receive. So I don't know if there's
it's concerning really about the police have asked about security and we're not getting a firm answer. So unless we have a firm answer, we can't actually go ahead with a hearing which we're not getting firm answers on.
Yes, well, we will continue with the answer that we have. So that is what you will have to consider, Councillor Anand. So we will continue with the hearing as it is, and then I'm getting a message. Hopefully be soon. Linda is saying she'll be joining soon, so we'll continue. PC Houston, have you got your answers, or you've got more questions?
I've got no further questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, before I go to objectors, Councillor Bacchilini.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, well, actually, my initial question was the same as Mimi. I wanted to just make sure we have a proper information in regards to temporary event notices that been given to the applicant.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, there are 2 temporary event notices that have been given so far by the licensing authority.
2.
Yes, indeed. One refers to the interior of the premises. One refers to a sort of PIMS bar on the side of the premises, and one refers to a punch bar stall within the body of the festival, standing alone.
And my second question is in regards to the your correspondence about the CCTV. Just want to confirm, why would the CCTV would be only turned on during licensable activities? Can you please explain this to us, please?
Yes, ma'am. I know I'm going to need Linda's help with this. Okay, to confirm, but how it works is this: there are all sorts of vulnerable people that go into the pavilion when that pavilion is not being used for licensable activities. Okay, and the applicants, being the consortium, the Friends of Boston Manor, have liaised with the organisers of these vulnerable groups, and they believe that the CCTV being on permanently when non-licensable activities are going on will actually deter the vulnerable people that use the premises from going there. Okay, and therefore they've asked that there is no CCTV when the premises is being used for non-licensable activities, which is fine because we're here today to license, hopefully license some licensable activities, not license non-licensable activities. We had this discussion with Vicky Hewison from the police, and Vicky conceded that point or whatever. And like I say, the conditions before you are those that have been agreed between ourselves and the lead authority for crime and disorder in Ealing, ma'am.
Thank you. My third question, and it's the last one, just wanting to make sure you've got a dispersal strategy in place. What can you tell us about this?
Are we talking about the dispersal policy to do with the festival or at
both,
or from the pavilion?
Can we know about both? I know you don't have a you're not ready to give us a proper answer, but it would be really beneficial to know more about the pavilion.
Yes, indeed. Right. As concerns the dispersal policy concerning the pavilion, no, there isn't one in the conditions. Okay, and the reason there isn't one at present is because we've been operating since its inception, since it was built, for these private events, and there has never been a problem with dispersal from it, and therefore we have not addressed it. If, however, ma'am, you require a dispersal policy, a condition around dispersal, we will, you know, at the end of the day, you're the licensing authority for Ealing and you will have what you want. Okay, and if you'd like one, I'm sure there will be a standard one for Ealing that the licensing authority or the police will have to hand, and we will surely consider it.
Thank you.
And accept it. Thank you.
Okay, Linda has put a message. Yes, there is an event management plan. Praveen, that maybe answered your question. Now you've got a question, Praveen, Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I would just like to go over a few points. I'm glad that the applicant has accepted to take on a dispersal policy. I think in the scale that you're hoping that the festivals and the events will actually proceed in a much larger way than it has in the past, a dispersal policy should be implemented. On the same note, I have a few questions, Chair, so I'll try and keep them as brief as possible. On the same note, do we have a provision of how we would tackle an emergency and how and what provisions will be made for in case of an emergency that occurs?
Yes, indeed. That is all contained within the event management plan, sir. And
so I understand, but I'd like to just, for the record, for the hearing, can you go into it a little bit more detail, please?
I haven't got it before me. That document is with Linda, and it's been prepared by the Events Umbrella, who are the council's own contractors for this kind of work. And the existence and adherence to an event management plan is built in to the application before you, and we subject to agreement with the Safety Advisory Group in due course, sir. Yes, there is an event management plan. There's some discussions with the Safety Advisory Group about its contents. For these kind of events, they are the event management plans are particularly tailored documents to the event itself, based on the risk.
Okay,
and
so
the majority.
okay, I'm going to ask.
The majority of my submission to you today, sir, is that this is the event, this festival has been operating since 2005 under event management plans and has so far resulted in absolutely zero issues whatsoever to anyone, sir.
Okay, but one of our objectives is public safety, so I reserve my question about asking about emergency and the provisions of that. I would like to still have details of what measures will be taken and how wide the excavation will be, how the plan would be if there is an emergency under this the public safety objective. So that I would actually, if that can be documented later on, that would be helpful. Going back to the security part, again, public safety. If you are talking that there will be, or there would possibly be SIA, have you got in mind how many per 100 you'll have?
Again, sir, that is subject of the event management plan. The SIA standard is 1 to 75, I believe. However, this all depends on the event itself. You may have, for example, 1,000 people turning up to a steam rally. Okay, I've got one going on in our village just down the road. You would not necessarily need 10 SIA on that. The SIA element depends on the risk. And again, I don't want to bore you, sir, but this is a low frequency, low impact, low hazard, low risk event that's to date since 2005 has resulted in no reports or problems to any of the responsible authorities, sir.
Okay, now I'm not getting a straight answer, but I'll take that answer as it is. Can you please go in detail, please, on the lost child policy, either yourself or Linda, on how how the policy of lost children will be taken account?
Let me see if Linda
because
can.
that is again.
Let me see if Linda can. Linda, can you speak now and try? No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, so stay on chat as you messaged me, and I will take your answers. Yes,
sir, I think an awful lot of this, the good councillor Anand, a lot of his issues, his queries can be addressed by Linda emailing the event management plan as it stands at the moment to him right now, and then he'll have the document in front of him with the lost children plan and the SIA element and what have you, all addressed therein.
Yeah, that will be helpful, because we are in an application that we need to get some answers, please.
I'm terribly sorry to interject, councillors. We cannot have documents being shared in the background of a hearing. You will need to take advice from your legal advisor, but this document has not been produced to us, and it should not be being produced, and certainly should not be being sent direct to the subcommittee.
Yeah, that's point noted, Luke.
Chair, sorry, may I suggest that if Linda could help us with addressing these questions, that would be really helpful. If she can't get online, could she possibly phone her solicitor and then we can share?
This document, she's saying, okay, who do I send it to? The document is with Event Umbrella. Okay, give me one question at a time. So she's asking what question you want the answer. Can somebody else come on, Councillor Arad, can you come on chat and ask that question?
Perhaps
Hattie's hand up, so maybe Hattie wants to come in.
Chair, there's just two things just to briefly advise. Firstly, in regards to the matter raised by Mr. Elford, just to reassure Mr. Elford and everybody else in this hearing that no documents will be received by the subcommittee until they have been considered properly, and indeed they would be shared with all parties before they've been given any consideration. So Miss Massey, I wouldn't advise you to be sending any documents through for now. The difficulty and the challenge we've got is that, Miss Massey, you appear to hold a lot of the information that the committee require answers to. And given the difficulties that you've got in communicating, if you're able to give us a nod that you can hear us or not. Can you hear us? No, clearly she can't hear us, because if she can't hear us, then that will require someone putting the questions in the chat and for her to answer those questions. So, Chair, it's a matter for you if you're willing to add. You can hear us. I've got a thumbs up from Miss Massey. You can hear us. If when a question is asked.
Hattie, the only trouble I'm getting is that if I have to write the question, then I will not be able to focus on the meeting. So it is getting complicated.
Yes, and
I'm happy to write the question.
But then if we start chatting, then it's going to go on and on. So it will be difficult to manage that, Hattie.
I agree with you, Chair.
I really don't know how to tackle this, because if the applicant cannot speak, how are we going to make a decision?
Yeah.
And the alternative is whether, I don't know whether the Democratic Services Officer can assist on whether Miss Massey can dial in to the call and just speak to the committee, as opposed to come on a Teams call online. I'm not sure of the logistics of how this will work.
I think if we cannot get Linda online and speak, then I don't think we'll be able to continue this meeting.
I think so. I agree with you, Chair.
Yeah.
Chair,
It's getting
Linda
more complicated.
Linda is trying to log in to the calling.
I've got so many objectors who've got questions, and it won't be possible for me to text those.
The challenge that you've got is Mr. Semper, whilst able to address you generally on licensing and this premises, the questions that you've posed so far require Linda to answer them to ensure that this is a fair hearing and the application is being heard. And in the absence of Linda, I note the observations that you've made and the difficulties you're experiencing.
But even up to this stage, there's been many questions that Mr. Semper has said he had no answer and he wanted help from the applicant. So we are getting mixed up now. I'm still waiting for the answer to Mimi's question, and now we've moved on to the councillors. So I really don't know. Now Linda has sent me a long text, and if I start reading those, then I won't be able to focus on the meeting, unfortunately.
I agree with you, Chair.
So it's your call now, Hattie. I don't think I can read those texts and continue the meeting.
So I suppose the options available. So firstly, it's your decision, Chair. You're chairing this committee meeting. It's your decision on how you want to proceed. That's the first thing. It may be that Mr. Semper, if he wants to make any further representations, we have had hearings where the applicant has been in contact. She's legally represented, or I actually don't know whether Mr. Semper is a lawyer or not. So I do apologise if I've not got that correct, Mr. Semper. But if she is represented by somebody, then he should be able to get those instructions from Miss Massey and address the committee, so that we're not having to adjourn this matter out to another date, given the number of people who've attended, both as residents and in their professional capacity. So, Mr. Semper, are you able to confirm to the committee how you're intending on proceeding with this particular application in terms of your instructions or limited instructions?
I'm as stuck as the rest of you. No, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a licensing consultant.
Thank you for
the event management plan is dealt with in the application itself, in as much as it says that an event management plan will be provided for the event. The conditions of the license would not. I mean, an event management plan runs to many pages.
Mr. Semper, I need to confirm first. are you happy to proceed without your applicant present? And we take the answer that you give us. We will not convey the answer to the applicant then, and we will take whatever you have.
Right. Well, I'm prepared to continue, but I cannot answer the questions that Councillor Anand is asking.
Chair, if we can't get the answers for the questions, then I am afraid that it's your decision. But how are we going to decide on an application if we don't get answers?
This is exactly what I asked Hattie, that if Mr. Semper is not able to answer the questions, then how are we going to make a decision?
I would say Linda could possibly join in by phone, either from following the link or using the dial-in by phone.
Well, if she comes on, then we are fine. If she can come on and answer the question, then fine.
Yeah, so if we can send the telephone number by email to Linda now, we know she can hear us, okay? So if somebody emails her a telephone number that she can dial into this call, that would be this meeting, that would be really useful.
It's in the chat. I think they put Sean's put it in the chat.
Okay, so let's just wait for Linda to pick up her phone and dial that number. She says that the telephone link is not working. It is not identifying the meeting. Okay,
sorry, Chair, to interrupt. Can I read it to Linda? Because I have it here.
Yeah, go.
So it's 0207 660 8164. And then, Sean, is this a code after the telephone? Can you please confirm the 949?
Yes, it's the conference ID code.
Okay, so the code that she needs to put in is 948911655 dash 948911655 dash. If we can ask Linda to give us a thumbs up if she got the number and the code to enter. Oh, yes, worked.
I have to say that I did that before and didn't work. Okay, I'm not having much luck. I apologise.
No, Linda, turn the speakers. Linda, turn the speaker off on your computer. Otherwise, we will get nothing but feedback. So please turn the speaker off on your computer.
Yes.
Right, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, Linda, we can clearly hear you now.
Yes.
I'm going to. Okay.
I really apologise.
That's okay.
Everybody up.
Thank you.
I'm going to start by catching up from what we missed.
Okay.
Mr. Semper, there was a question from Mimi.
Yes, so Mimi asked how many events we have had. Actually, sorry, I'm still getting the echo myself. Just give me a minute. Let me just get this.
Does she need to keep the computer on or not?
Yes, sir, we need to see her. It's just she needs to turn the volume down on it.
Linda, we can't hear you.
She's just exited, Chair.
Linda, dial the number again. You've just exited. Okay. Call that number again, please.
Chair, whilst we're waiting for that to happen, can I just deal with a very urgent point of clarification?
Yeah.
Did I hear you say you received a text message direct from Linda Massey?
No, it came on the chat, which is the Teams chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, I do not have Linda's contact or conversation with Linda.
Mr. Elford, everyone has access to the chat on Teams, as you will have noted.
Yes, I can see that. I just thought I heard the chair say that he'd received a text from Linda, which was obviously very concerning.
Chair, I think Linda might need assistance with reading the number again. If I'm, yes, so Linda, it's 0207 660 8164. And then the code is 9489116555-.
What did she say? Your mic is off, Councillor Batlini.
I think she said that it just logged out. Let me have a look. It has just logged out saying it doesn't exist. Please share once again. Okay. Okay, Linda. So the number is 0207 660 8164 and the code is 9489116555-.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can hear you now, but there's an echo coming, so you need to switch off your.
What I'll do is I'll change rooms away from the film. That was a problem last time, just setting it off. Is that better now without echo?
Yeah, that is better now. Okay, you start with your answers straight away.
Okay, so just going back to where I left off was where Mimi asked how many events that we have per year.
Yeah.
The situation is, this is for the outside area, for example, for the sports space. We used to do 2 a year, which is the festival and something called Tribute Fest, which is a much smaller event anyway. And then in the pavilion, we every weekend, bar maybe about 5 weekends in a year, there might be just one day we don't do an event, usually children's birthday parties, but that's both on the Saturday and the Sunday. And that's after we do all our classes, all the hires we do for the sporting activities and other things that we do in there. So hopefully that answers your question, Mimi. It is a popular venue. We only will do 1 a day. We never do, generally we only do 1 a day. Occasionally we might do a small one where they have a picnic outside under a tree and then something in the mirror room, but it's as I say, it's a popular venue for the local community.
Okay. PC Hussein, did you get your answer or you still had your question?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to confirm how many the pavilion holds for a private event. I think I heard 80. I just wanted to confirm whether that was the case or not.
Yeah, the mirror room is capable, because of the size of it, of having 81 people standing. We never do that many inside because it's just wouldn't be comfortable. And that we're just talking the mirror room. If you're talking the pavilion in total, you could get 80 across the whole pavilion. So that's the cafe area and the mirror room. But we don't ever go, that's just unreasonable. We wouldn't go to that event, that extent of people inside the pavilion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Anand, you had a question. Just those questions that were not answered.
Thank you, Chair. May I just continue with this police's question? Just ask Linda. Thank you. I think we can hear you now, and I think a lot of questions will be answered.
Okay.
Could you just, for our clarity, confirm how many people do you expect at any one time to be in the event?
Right. Are we talking the festival or are we talking the pavilion?
Festival, please. Festival,
the
please.
Festival. We have,
yes.
When we first came there to that park, we sort of picked everybody in, and that particular occasion there was about 10,000. We realised that the numbers have been reduced anyway to 8,000. This is throughout the whole event. This is people coming in at sort of 11 o'clock to come and have a look, and people leaving at 6 o'clock when the whole event is finished. At any one time, and we have monitored this ourselves, there's very rarely any more than 2,000 people, because people come in to look, they may come in with their children and then go off out again. The reason why we have the 2,000 is that people will hang around listening to the music. We provide furniture for them to sit at. It makes it a nice family environment, and they also engage with people they haven't seen all summer.
Okay,
but 2,000 is the figure one needs to work on.
Thank you. That makes clarity quite favourable here. Just explain, if you may, about safety. Do people get searched when they are coming in, or how do you actually monitor the event in that way? How is?
Thank you. So this is a family event, and it's not necessary to search people. We have people at the front entrance, which I call the Windmill Road entrance, and I might just point out ex-police are doing that for us as volunteers. We have 4 entrances, so they can come in from the allotments, they can come in from Niagara. So, basically 4 entrances coming in. No way would we want to search them. That just takes away the fact that we are providing a community fun day. We've never had any incidents, as I say, as Mr. Assemble said to you earlier on, and I wouldn't think that searching would be. It would not be conducive for a good event.
Okay.
And
That was
suggested,
no, it's just to understand exactly the event. So how there haven't been events where there have been instances that acknowledge that. With regards to drug substances or something, how will that be monitored, or is that something?
Well,
how would that be monitored?
We have okay, so again, are you talking the festival, or are you talking about the private event?
Festival.
Private events we can't count. So for the festival, obviously we're all alert. We sort of said that we have at any one time at least 6 stewards on, but that doesn't count the event team that we've got as well. So we're observant. We're looking all around. As it happens, we do have a CCTV camera on that area, but we don't really feel the need to use it. But we could if we wanted to. It's not an event where people would come in, I would think, selling drugs, because it's not. It's a family event. It's all ages, but all connected with family groups. It's not people coming in and teenagers, for example, coming in and wanting to do a deal. Not to say that doesn't happen in the park already, because obviously things do happen and that's been flagged up.
Yes.
But nothing to do with any event. That's just life.
Okay. So we heard from your agent about the security would be dependent on the event itself. So have you got on the most, if you were to evaluate the most riskiest event, how many security, if you had about 2,000 people at any one time, how many security would you consider having?
Well, if we're talking SIA, I mean, I personally, I'm not really happy about the whole arrangement that I just said as a compromise. But on saying that, we're due to have a festival that's going to go ahead in just over a week's time. I'm sure there's no way I can get SIA staff for that anyway. What I said in my note back to Event Umbrella is that if we had SIA, we wouldn't want there's no necessary for handing out the bar. That's totally in control. People that run the bar actually for us are camera staff. You know, people made comments about volunteers. They are volunteers, but they're all totally experienced in what they're doing. If you had SIA, what we were saying is you could actually have them roaming around, so they're actually given a proper job to do rather than just standing there putting people off. We actually had a little conversation with people over the last couple of weeks coming to the park and what are your views. And what they said is that seeing something like that would scare them off from coming to the event. They'll assume that there's problems and therefore it would prevent them coming in.
No, that's understandable from what you're saying. Just if I may, I'm very grateful for your answers. It's really helping quite a bit. If we may just follow on with that, with regards to lost children, have you got a policy? I know you say can you just explain how, if a child is lost, what would happen, please?
Okay, so if a child is lost, it's either the parent comes in and said that they can't find their child, or it might be the child will go to somebody with a high vis saying, I can't find my mummy or my daddy. It immediately goes into the radio. We have code words. So, for example, Disney is the code for a lost child. We then stop the talking between everybody else, but just the two people that are connected. So that is the person that's on our welfare. They may actually contact the police who are with us already working there, you know, sort of displaying there. But the idea is that they can only, a steward is not, or whoever, is not allowed to be left alone with a child. There have to be two people. So the message will come back to event control, which is me saying we've got this Disney, we'll get somebody to be with them, we find the location, we find out what they're wearing, and we take them to the welfare place, and they're treated to a lovely time while we're waiting, while we search for the parents. If we have to announce it on the PA system on the main stage, we will do so. But from experience, the child can usually be fine. They've just wandered off once you find out what their last area was. And the same for the parents. You know, the parents have looked away and the child has gone to something exciting. Actually, last year we had absolutely no Disneys at all, but we did the year before we had. And it gets handled usually very quickly. We can usually find them to their parents within about 15 minutes. So it's not an issue for, you know, for the safety or anything like that. And many of us are DBS trained as well, so, you know, qualified rather. So, you know, we always make sure we've got the right people with the Disney.
Thank you. Chair, I just have two further ones. Is that okay?
Yes, please.
So just on the, we heard about the sound. How have you had any instances? I mean, do you use with the sound? It's not so much the sound as much as it's the bass. Sometimes it's the issue for residents. Are your events quite sort of like bass orientated, or is just sound? Is it?
No, I would say not. I would say it is just sound. We tend to, because we're all of an older generation that run the event, it tends to be sort of like the poppy music that people know anyway, and they enjoy it. I mean, I think, you know, in fairness, we've got different ones. We've got a young group that will come on this time, which local schools where they formed. It's just poppy, almost poppy. But
fair enough. That's
this
great.
year, our plan was to have also a brass band, which is why Nick Semper mentioned that, but that's in a slightly different location. But yeah, it's not.
That's great. So when see, also what affects sound is sometimes this year it might be different to next year and year before is the wind. How do you tackle that? Do you do some checks on where to actually?
Yeah, do
you do any checks before the event?
Yes, we do. It gets monitored beforehand, just in the testing of the PA system. And then we, at regular intervals, go around the park. We have our own meter. And so that's in addition to what the PA man does. But we do monitor it.
With emergency instances, if there's a real serious emergency and something happens, what would generally, how would people sort of like, what's the plan there?
Okay, so we know what we're doing evacuating. So it depends on where the area is, because as I said before, there are 4.
Would you have more than one exit point if there was if there was an
Yeah,
emergency?
it depends. Yeah, it depends what it is. If it's a crowd issue, if it's a fire, I mean, it really depends on what the event is. It all gets fed back,
Right.
and we will negotiate from event control. Fortunately, we haven't had that sort of problem. All we had was a mental health issue, I think, once. That was not didn't end up being a problem once we got her off site. No.
Thank you. That sort of answers my question, but it just leads on to one question that Councillor McLeany actually asked on, was the dispersal. So I will leave that question for her to follow up. But thank you, Chair. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Mimi, you've got a question before I ask Councillor McLeany if she want to ask any question. Mimi?
Please, if you don't mind. Thank you, Chair. It's regarding my previous question to the applicant. The applicant mentioned that the pavilion is hired almost every weekend. Can the applicant confirm up to what time is the pavilion hired out of the weekends? I'm not really sure, and as you can appreciate, you haven't submitted a lot of temporary event notices, and I'm not familiar with what type of event. I'm sorry, the two questions. And also, what about during the week? Do you normally hire out during the week or mainly the weekend?
Okay, thank you. So for in the weekends, generally, because they are children's parties, they usually go on very rarely later than 5:30, 6 o'clock. Depends on the time of year, because obviously it's dark and we have to be mindful of people coming in and out of the park at night. And I know that's a concern that I saw written in some of people's replies. But also because we're there from 8:30, it makes it a long day, but much later than that. We have had just a few events, and they're actually all sort of slightly religious, which, the christening, which was just mentioned, they had permission to be there until 10 o'clock. And I think we've only ever had one more like that. But generally, it's a daytime thing, finishing probably, in terms of, sound, music, finishing maybe 5:30, but being off-site by 5:30, 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. What about during the week? Do you hire out the pavilion during the week?
In the week, it is always hired, but not for events like that. It's always sporting things, so Zumba or whatever, Morris dancing.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLeany, was there any question that was not answered by Mr.
Thank you,
Sample?
Chair. Yes, I'd like actually to ask Ms. Linda specifically about the dispersal strategy that she would be implementing in case of for both the festival and the pavilion. We're interested in understanding how she plans to manage crowd flow and ensure smooth operations in these two areas.
So, thank you. So for the pavilion, that's the easier one to sort of suggest. Obviously, the numbers we're talking about are quite small anyway.
Yeah.
But there are two entrances in and out of the pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was just a hire for the mirror room, they wouldn't have access to the second to the cafe part. That actually gets locked. So that means they've got doors to go in and out. They will be, because we've got fortunate to have a big field on the outside. Depends what the issue is. For example, if it were a fire, then they would come out onto the field and be away from it while it gets dealt with. We would get alerted if we're not there on site. And I'll be honest, more often than not, we try to have somebody stay with them. I actually have two volunteers that will come always and check during an event and keep an eye on things. So we would, they can notify, sort of say, for example, myself. There's one other person that can monitor the CCTV as well on the outside, so we can always check with that. And then it's a case of what the issue is how we disperse of them. Normally, people would disperse out towards Windmill Road because of that's probably if they've come by vehicle, then they've probably got their vehicles sort of out in Windmill Road. So that would be the way we would see them out. In addition to that, we have the facility that if it were at night time, we can switch on 6 street lights, which we control, which we actually funded and put into the park to give added security for the park if anybody's leaving when it's late. But please be assured, we're not wanting to come out, at night. We're not wanting to come out in the winter. It's all about having a little bit of fun, children's birthday parties, and somebody mentioned about the age groups of having parties over 18. That's just not a no-no. That just does not happen. I know because we've run it in Boston Manor Park for 18 years. You never have teenage parties. It wouldn't work. And was there a second part? So for the festival,
Yes.
again, it depends on what the issue is. But it's a case of everybody that we've got a system where the stewards all get the message. They've all got their zones that they work in, and they are responsible for moving people or keeping people in, depending on what the event is. The central event, around where the music is and the catering and some of the stalls, they've got an open, two vehicle access gates, which can be either locked or open, whichever we want to do, and three side gates, which again can be locked. We carry cable ties should we need to, some event control, should I say, we have those, and it can be locked if we need to do that, and the stewards have to wait there until they get the next instructions. And again, if it's fire, then we will have called the fire brigade. If it's, a police issue, we may have asked for help from the people that are actually already in the park, because we usually have two safer neighbourhood teams working within, with some deaf selling themselves in the park. But yeah, so that's it. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Yes, it did. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm going to go straight to the objectors. Objector, you can raise your hand if you have any question. No, this is just a question session, just a clarification. You will have the opportunity to present your case, but at this moment, just a question. So, Susan, switch on your mic, please.
I'm on, I think.
Yes, yes,
yeah.
Ask.
Well, it's about the general discussion, really, because I don't quite see why there wasn't two separate license applications, because I was always led to believe that one could do a one-off, just like the Brentford Festival. But the documents we were sent were for very, very different hours that Linda has mentioned. We've got 12 o'clock. I just don't understand. It seems to be a blanket one for the whole year, every day of the week. So I don't quite understand what we're discussing now, because I always thought if you had an event, you could apply for a one-off license. And also I know from other places, if you had a party, the guests would usually bring their own alcohol. And unless it was somewhere like the Drayton Court, which has a paid bar, which obviously has a blanket license for the whole year.
Okay, so I've got your question.
The documents we've got mention 12 o'clock, from 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock at night. So we seem to be discussing mainly to do with the Brentford Festival, which I would have thought was a one-off license for that, which is fair enough. But we're led to believe that it could go on till 12 o'clock, according to this document. But then we're told it finishes at 6. So I'm a bit confused.
Okay, Mr. Sempa, you want to just answer the question why this application is one application rather than two. I think that is the main question.
Okay, well, the first thing is that two licenses attract the cost of two annual fees, and this is a charity and they wish to keep the prices down. Secondly, although on the face of it, it may look confusing, if you look at the body of it and what I've explained today, this is for a private event hire space, the pavilion, that extends into the park on one day and one day only, and the hours set for the parameters of that are from 12 until 6, as has happened since 2005. So rather than doing two separate apps, we've done the one, which encompasses both facilities.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Gillian, you've got a question. Just a question, please.
Yes, it's a follow-on question.
Sue, can you switch off your camera, please?
Susan, a follow-on question from Sue's question. I would like to understand why I'd like clarity as to why the application is to midnight every day of the year when all the events that have been spoken about complete by 6 p.m.
Okay, Mr. Sempa?
That's a good question. Absolutely. It allows them to facilitate to be able to put on a private hire event in the weeknights. It's not going to be open from doing licensable activities from 10 until midnight or every day of the year. It simply gives them the capacity to be able to operate those hours where they required. And like I say, in my original submission, this isn't going to be a Wetherspoons, this isn't going to be a public bar or a nightclub. This is simply to allow for the facility for them to retail alcohol to their own guests at such events, family celebrations and what have you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can I continue just for clarity then? So you're proposing significant changes to the current usage. All the discussion has been around current usage, but what I'm just hearing now is that you want to start hiring out for public events in the weekdays until 12 p.m. That's what I heard from what you said, which is a total change of use.
No, it isn't a total change of use. What it is, it allows the facility to be done. Okay, I've told you it's not going to be open every night of the week until midnight. Linda, I don't know if you can come in and just give a bit of reassurance around this, please.
Yes, certainly, no problem. Yeah, we were told that we had, as I say, it all started off with the Ealing Council telling us that we had to apply for a licence. So going back to Susan's question, which wasn't actually answered, is that to do a licence, as we have done previously, we did it on what you call a 10 licence. We were told we could no longer do that because of the number of people that come to the event. So a 10 licence actually only covers 499 people at any one time, and obviously our event is bigger than that. So that was why the council came and said that we have to do this premise licence. As to the, as I've been advised, it was a statutory requirement to put down the hours. We actually amended the hours even before they went in, because of, you know, who wants to do an event till midnight or 1 o'clock anyway. But it was a statutory requirement. And in fact, it has been now agreed with the police, the change of hours slightly again. But it is not our intention. I can appreciate, you know, if you know me, I don't know whether you know me or not, but if you know us in the park, that's never our intention. We are about the community. We're about facilitating. We're about making it happen. That's why we went out fundraising and got £450,000 to do the event, you know, the building in the first place. And it's getting a lot of traction. I'm really pleased that we're reaching a lot of different groups. We're not talking about doing all these night things at all. What I said in reflection to the licensing guys when we first started doing this is the only thing that I can think of that I would want to add in, and that is to do something as a social gathering to try and sort of engage with those people that, you know, lonely at home, what have you, is to do a little film night. We've got a projector there, a film night, maybe a supper club or something like that. You're probably talking about 20 people only anyway. But please be assured, Julian, that there was no intention, there never has been, and that's what we've been trying to stress for those that have come in and asked the question. It's never ever been the intention. All we were doing was following the orders of the required orders from the council of what we were required to do. The whole thing, I have to say, is very depressing. I'm sure that you've all been very upset by it, but no more than myself.
Okay, thank you. I've got no further indication and no other hand raised. So I'm moving on to the next stage of the hearing, and I'm going to invite the responsible authorities to start by presenting their case. And I will start by police.
Thank you, Chair. So, yeah, you would have read my representation. The police, myself and Sergeant Cassar did visit the pavilion ourselves on the 29th of July. It is a prefabricated type building. There is residential properties not too far behind it. And I'm not a soundproofing expert whatsoever, but, you know, the walls were thin and there are concerns if there was loud music that residents would be disturbed and cause a public nuisance to the local residents. So that was one of our concerns. The second concern was really around obviously Brentford Festival. Again, myself and Sergeant Cassar attended the Safety Advisory Group meeting. It appears the festival has grown a lot over the years, and they're expecting a footfall of around 8,000 to 10,000 people to attend on the day. and as you've heard today, expected maybe 2,000 people at one time. And previously this has been run by volunteers, but we think that, you know, SIA should be employed and be on the entry and exit points, just for safety and security reasons. As we've heard today from Linda, she doesn't think that the SIA, she's not going to be able to get them in time. I have had conversations with Reba Danson, who is Nick Semper's colleague. We have agreed conditions, all of the conditions that you've read in my representation, plus a further condition, which is the requirement for CCTV, applies to all public areas at times when licensed activities are being provided. And as you've heard, you know, as explained by Linda's agent about the vulnerable people that are attending in the day. So I did agree that condition with them. I think you were forwarded an email on the 20th of August with the full conditions, and also we agreed core hours. So the supply of alcohol would be Monday to Thursday, 10 AM to 2300 hours, Friday to Saturday and bank holiday Sunday from 10 to 2330 hours, and other Sundays 11 till 2300 hours, which are Ealing Borough's core hours, and that's by representation.
Okay, thank you.
May I come back on that? Would you mind if I responded to that, Linda?
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mimi to present her case, and then we'll put questions.
Okay.
Mimi?
Thank you, Chair. I'll first address the use of the pavilion, and then I'll talk about the Brentford Festival. I do acknowledge Mr. Semper's point that we have not received any noise complaints, and the only one we received on the 3rd of August 2024. However, even if this was a new premises license application with no prior history, we'd still be here discussing these or raising all these inquiries. I understand there's there's no historical record of these issues, but circumstances will can change over time. The type of attendees, and the hours at this stage. More importantly, this application grants the applicant the right to hold an event every single day. I take into consideration what the applicant said earlier, that's not intention, but also the applicant mentioned that the pavilion is typically held out at weekends only until 6 PM. And this premises license application means it will be granted until midnight. Although Mr. Semper has stated that the use of the premises will remain the same, this application permits the use of the pavilion every day until midnight. Therefore, there is a clearly change in use or an intention to change it. At this stage, we don't know if the regulated entertainment or the dispersal of the customers using the pavilion will cause a disturbance to nearby residents at midnight or 11 o'clock, depending when they leave, as the pavilion seems to be operating just until 6 or 7 PM in the last couple of years. With regards to the pavilion, and I just wanted to make it clear that we do not agree with regulated entertainment being associated with the use of the pavilion in the outdoor area or the patio area. And now going back to the Brentford Festival, as both the applicant and Mr. Semper mentioned, that this event is reviewed annually at the Safety Advisory Group meeting, which I always attend. But also just wanted to ask the committee if they were willing to grant this application. Actually, I do this up. I can do this at the end, but I'll say something.
That's okay. Carry on.
Yeah, it's just a point that you might want to think about it. I would just kindly request to add a condition with regards to the noise management plan and also the event management plan, which covers all the safety points for Brentford Festival to be included as part of the premises license application, either by having a standard condition that could be added, or requiring the applicant to submit a copy of this event management plan / noise management plan 30 days before the event. At least that will cover all these concerns, and that can be reviewed annually. But yeah, going back to the noise, safety advisory group meeting, as I said, I attend, so we can address that with a one-day event. But my I think my main concern would remain the pavilion. We don't know what's going to happen because it hasn't been used until midnight. It's only been, as the applicant stated earlier, it's only been used until the early hours of the evening, 6-7 p.m. That's all from me. Thank you.
Can you repeat? You said if the committee was minded to grant, then they should put the condition of noise management plan and event management plan?
Well, the event management plan, normally the event management plan will also include the noise management plan. As you can appreciate, I'm more mindful about the noise management plan, but the like the applicant stated earlier, the event management plan was sent to the safety advisory group, and I do have a copy of that, which was sent to me on Tuesday. I have a copy of that, but I think it would also be beneficial for that to be included with the premises license application. And I know this is reviewed annually as the applicant attends the safety advisory group meeting, and I think it would be very good to have a condition that that event management plan should also be sent to the responsible authorities, let's say 30 days or 20 days before before the event. That's what normally we expect applicants to do when we attend both safety advisory group meetings and have a premises license. At least we have an opportunity to review it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to the objectors now, I'm going to open the floor to questions. The applicant, you have any questions?
No,
I
I can
have.
Yeah, but just wait a second. I just need to address Mimi on that. The reference to the event management plan is already included within the license. It's conditions 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, we're more than happy to accept your 20-day limit on that. However, we cannot comply this year, Mimi, because the event is less than 20 days from now. So starting as of 2025, yes, we absolutely accept that. Secondly, if you've got issues with regulated entertainment at the pavilion on the patio of an evening, again, I'm sure Linda will accept a condition that there will be no regulated entertainment on the patio of an evening, okay, after 6 o'clock, for example. Linda, you had something to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say regarding the police's comment about not being experts, etc. I understand that about it being a prefab building. I actually did go back to our planning application just to see if I could explain, reassure you what padding there is between the walls, but unfortunately it wasn't identified. I just wanted you to be aware, everybody to be aware, that the doors open onto the field and not onto the back. So where you've got, for example, a lot of the people today that are objecting live in Windmill Road or Swinkham Avenue, the music or whatever happens doesn't open out onto the back. There's their own alleyways, then there's woodland, and then there's the area where the pavilion is, and then everything else is going in the direction of the field. And when we've had live music in there, we had a 50th birthday, for example, comes to mind, where they had a ceilidh band. We literally went around the perimeter of the field with our meter checking it, and we did that several times before we then retired for the evening. That one did actually go on probably till about 10 o'clock. It was a while ago, so I'm not exactly familiar, but I don't think the building has the issue that you might think it is. It's not like the prefabs laid down the Boston Manor where it was just put there after the war and they're still there. Referring to the volunteers, we've got some very good quality volunteers working with us. Some of them are in the industry. As I said before, some of them are ex-police. They're retired now, but they're doing their bit. We're not fools. We're not just somebody that's sort of, I want to go and help and whatever. I mean, we have those as well, and we have young people as well. So I really don't think that's too much of a concern. And then on the CCTV, I realised that earlier on, when I was struggling to try and get online, somebody was sort of saying about why would we not be having CCTV only switched on at certain times. Just to reiterate, we run a lot of events there where we're dealing with vulnerable people, and we really, really cannot have, we'd have to get permission from all their parents to allow us to be able to film. In addition, we have the people at Northfields United and Footy Fun for Kids, who the parents leave them there and then they go off and do things. For example, today there is a holiday camp going on. We couldn't have anything recorded during those times. There'd be a whole safety issue that we have to deal with. But we are saying that we'd be prepared at our expense, obviously, to put in a camera in the mirror room, and then the camera in the cafe area, which we would switch on as and when we do the hire. And the only other thing that's come to mind about what we would do in the daytime in the week is we have had, and it's only usually 4 times a year, the Ealing Cricket Club come along and they put on a whole sort of tournament. They have asked for alcohol. So, could we please buy some cans from you? Ironically, we've had their non-alcoholic drinks, which we've allowed them to buy, but it's not what they're actually asking. So that would still be called a private event because we know who's coming, we know how they booked, they pay to use the field, and we know exactly what times they're going to be there. So that isn't an issue. And then on Mimi's, I'm just thinking about when you're sort of saying about previewing 20 days before. I hope you're not talking about the pavilion because that would be impossible. Sometimes people only come to us a week before saying, "Oh, I've been let down. Can you sort of do something for me?"
Sorry,
so
can I'll interrupt you, Linda, for a second. Is the
Sorry,
Brentford? I made reference to the Brentford Festival, not the
I beg your
pavilion.
pardon. Sorry. Being able to see anybody, my own room on my own, I'm a bit lost. I think not on the patio. We also say that we've turned somebody away who already come regularly. The whole families get together, and they do food between them. And they came back after the last successful time. Said, "Oh, could we just do something where we bring some bands and they can just just play to our families?" And I actually have said no. I made it difficult for them. But if it's inside the pavilion, it's a different matter. And as I say, that is so limited on who has either a band or DJ or just using their own little speakers for playing music from their phones. I don't really think it's a noise issue. It's of concern.
Okay.
I think I've covered a big point there. Thank you.
Okay. Did I just want to clarify, did I hear Mr. Sempa saying that he's willing to put a condition, no regulated entertainment after 6 p.m.?
No, sir, I didn't say that. I was talking about Mimi's concern about regulated entertainment on the patio, upsetting the residents nearby. Clearly, Linda's already told you she doesn't allow regulated entertainment on the patio, but if Mimi wants it as a condition, we have no issue with that.
Is that correct, Linda? No,
yeah, I mean, I guess get it a certain time. I mean, I think that we should be allowing people to have their event until, for argument's sake, 6 o'clock. If you're talking about later than that, then I think that's relevant. But up until the 6 o'clock, we're all still there. We can keep control of it. Whether it be using the meter to tell them the time down, but it really, they're little 3-year-old parties, for goodness sake. It's not. It hasn't been an issue.
Okay, Mimi, you wanted to come back?
Sorry, Chair. Just wanted to clarify with the applicant. So, are they saying that this stage they have music, regulated entertainment, played outside in the outdoor area on the patio? That's why I just wanted to clarify because I'm not.
Yeah, okay. So what we've had is the one that received the complaints, which was the 3 complaints in August. They moved. They were supposed to be actually inside the pavilion, but because it was a nice day, they moved outside. Had everything outside.
Okay.
So yes, it was. It was on the outside.
It was outside.
Actually, not the patio, but it was on the outside. But yeah, and again, we monitored that ourselves, and we got them to put the sign down before we left, and then noise control came after that. And said there's no case to answer, so which is how we saw it. It may have seemed loud, it might not be their sort of music, but
no, I appreciate that.
But I think
I appreciate that. Thank you. But even if it, for example, even if it's played until 6 p.m. and if you're going to allow people to have a music out on the patio every single weekend of the summer, I think the residents are going to be upset.
Yeah, we wouldn't have that. It really,
even if it's low level, that's all.
Yeah, and most parties, just so that you know, it's about 3 hours in total, and then they get a half an hour setting up and half an hour taking down. But the actual party might only be 2 hours or 3 hours at the most. And they would love to get in early, but they can't because we've already booked out for sporting things.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. PC Houston. Did I see a communication somewhere where the SIAs were agreed by Mr. Sempa or not?
No, I don't think so.
No, not at all. That's subject of the event management plan. So.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Councillor Anand, you've got a question to responsible authority?
To Vicky first. Yes, thank you, Chair. To Vicky, am I just one for clarity? Your email of the 20th of August, am I understanding now that you have more or less your representations have all been agreed, or are they still some that are not?
We agreed a number of conditions prior to the representation from the police being submitted. We agreed conditions and we've agreed hours to bring in line with court hours. The police's main concern now is really around public nuisance with the noise of loud regulated entertainment within the pavilion.
I'll ask that question to Mimi. I just wanted to ask on that point. Have you had any ASB related complaints in the past? I know your email says that there have been no issues. So have you had any complaints in the past with the ASB related issues outside the park after they've left the residence? Have they caused nuisances? Have you had any complaints on that in the past?
Unfortunately, I can only confirm what we had associated with the park. We do not deal with ASB.
My question was to Vicky, Mimi. My question was to Vicky.
Sorry, I think it's
the only thing I could see that was outside of the park at the end of the road. I think is it Blondin Avenue or something at the end of the road. Was it back in 2019 where somebody reported to police that there was a couple of people fighting with a chain involved? When police got there was no trace of anything. That was the only thing that came up on the day of the festival. But outside of it, outside of it, it was nothing to do with the festival. It was just nearby. That's the only thing that came up. So it wasn't inside the footprint of the festival and it couldn't be linked to the festival. So I went back 10 years.
So that's great. That's great. Thank you. Yeah. That answers my question. Thank you. Mimi, yes, I want to come back to yourself now. Sorry. So sure. Your representations in the past, have you had serious noise complaints?
No, we haven't. The only complaints that we had were on the 3rd of August related to the pavilion and exactly what the applicant was saying. There were 3 different residents that contacted us around 2 or 6 p.m. and then one just after 9 p.m. Our officers visited and made an assessment, but it wasn't. They deemed it not to be a statutory nuisance. They witnessed low-level music and they did not approach the venue as there is no need.
And on the other note, have you agreed sound levels with the applicant now for the festival side?
So with regards to that, as I said, we normally address those issues at the safety advisory group meeting, and I had a look at the noise management plan that they submitted. I will discuss this with applicant and Mr. Semper. I would rather discuss with the noise consultant. I don't think Mr. Semper and the applicant will be able to answer some of the questions with regards to the decibel levels, but I'll do that. But for the time being, I'm satisfied with that. There are just a couple of questions I need to address. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to go now to the objectors to start their representation, and I'm going to start by taking Mr. Raj Kapoor. Mr. Raj Kapoor,
Chair,
you
I think
start
he left.
your. Sorry.
Sorry, he's left, I think.
Okay.
Chair, it's in the note. He's actually. I'll just read out for everyone.
Yes, please.
He said, I'm just trying to get back to the. He left a note. I have to leave the meeting now, but I want to leave you with an important point. You may hear from other objectors later, but I want to emphasize the antisocial behavior. Sorry, I lost my slide. to be avoid priority 2 for the Northfields area. This has been the case for some time, raising questions.
I can't hear you.
Yes, you've disappeared again, I think.
Rima, can you read, if you can go back to those notes, messages on Teams?
Yes, Chair, I'm just trying to find it as well.
I mean, you want to catch up? I didn't
I think I have it. So
Okay,
he
yeah,
said,
I
I
meant,
have to
sorry.
leave the meeting now, but I want to leave you with an important point. You may hear from other objectors later, but I want to emphasize that antisocial behavior, and crime around Blondin Park has been and continues to be a ward priority for the Northfields area. This has been the case for some time, raising the question, why is this issue still unresolved? That's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to the next objector, Luke. Luke, now it's your turn, please.
Thank you very much, councillors. As you know,
thank you for being patient.
Of course, my absolute pleasure. I represent Mr. Charles Hawes and Miss Adele Casey, and you can find, councillors, their extremely comprehensive representations at pages 109 to 113. That's Mr. Hawes's representation, and pages 172 to 174 of your agenda papers. Now, you are an experienced licensing subcommittee, and you have clearly read and digested all of the paperwork, and you will therefore understand and appreciate the strength of feeling in relation to this application. I'm not going to rehearse what is in the papers. It is all there for you to see, but I am going to make my submissions to you in 3 parts, if I may. First, I'm going to deal with an overarching problem with this application. Then I'm going to talk to you specifically about how the licensing objectives will be undermined if this application is granted in its current form. And finally, I'm going to ask what you should do instead. I hope that's an acceptable way forward. There are, in our submission, 2 fundamental and 3 core issues with this application.
Mr. Elford, I'm so sorry. It's legal advisor to the panel. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Just a moment. I couldn't see Councillor Anand, and I just want to make sure that he's online.
Yes, I'm having a little bit of issues with signal. So my camera, I put my camera off, but I could hear everything.
Oh no, yeah, I can see
I'm
you
still
now.
online.
Thank you,
I'm
thank
still
you,
online.
thank you, Mr. Elford.
Thank you. The 2 fundamental issues, councillors, are this: that this is an application that everyone, apart from the applicant, seems to agree should have been 2 applications. One for the Brentford Festival and one for the pavilion. And by combining the 2, the applicant has, whether inadvertently or not, opened Pandora's box. And that view should come as no surprise to the applicant, because it was raised by those instructing me and others at a very early opportunity in this process. They said to the applicant, and I'm paraphrasing, look, we don't have a huge issue with the Brentford Festival, but it's your plans for the pavilion that are causing significant angst amongst the local residents. And you've heard in submissions today from Mr. Semper and from Miss Massey that what is applied for and what actually happens are 2 very different kettles of fish. The question my clients put to the applicant was this: would you consider reducing the scope of your application to the festival only, and then we can discuss the pavilion offline and without the time pressures of a consultation period and a subsequent hearing? The applicant refused, and we've only heard today that the reason for not doing that relates to the fees for 2 premises licenses. Now, councillors, the fees, I don't have the exact rateable value in front of me, but it will be between £100 and £635. We are not talking here about astronomical amounts of money for each licence. Clearly could be recouped quite easily in higher fees, in donations, and in alcohol sales. So we certainly understand the need to ensure that the festival part of the application is considered today. It's going to take place on the 1st of September in 9 days' time, and you've been told, regardless of what you do today, it's taking place anyway under temporary event notices to authorise the sale of alcohol. So there is time pressure in respect of the festival, but there doesn't seem to be any immediate time pressure in respect of the pavilion part of this application. Now, the second major issue, councillors, is that this application does not sit happily alongside the extant planning permission for the pavilion. Your attention is drawn by various of the objectors to the planning permission for the pavilion, and it is helpfully set out for you by them. Now, the applicant has already said, and will always say, that licensing and planning are two separate regimes, and they're correct. Licensing and planning are two separate regimes, but that does not mean for 1 second that they do not impact upon one another, and that is recognised within your statement of licensing policy at paragraphs 1.73 and later 2.124. So the real issue, councillors, is that even if you are minded to grant the part of the application that relates to the pavilion, the planning permission that the pavilion has is not going to allow them to operate as they intend to, nor does it even allow them to operate as they have been doing currently. They have a long road ahead to secure any necessary changes to their planning permission, and we say it's more likely than not that based on what the permission allows currently, they will not get that permission. The core issues then in relation to the application are this. Firstly, the broadness of the hours that have been sought, and I think you've all recognised that there's a real difference between the hours that are being sought and the hours that actually this premises operates. Secondly, there is a question about how the licensing plan that will be appended to this premises licence interplays with the applicant's application for off sales. And third, that the conditions that this applicant has offered you get nowhere close to ensuring that the licensing objectives are not undermined. And I'm going to deal with those things in that order. The application sought the ability to sell alcohol and provide other licensable activities until midnight, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you were told, incorrectly I might add, that they had to put that because it was a statutory requirement and that they were told to do that by Ealing Council. It's a very great shame that we don't have a member of the licensing service here today, as far as I can tell, because that does not sound to me to ring true or be the kind of advice that would be being given out by the licensing team. And this was all to take place within a structure that is not designed for the kind of purpose. Yes, I can see the legal advisor has their hand up. Do you wish me to stop, Miss Seb?
Yes, I was reluctant to interrupt you, Mr. Elford, hence I raised my hand. Chair, I just wanted to make very clear to Mr. Elford that he may have heard during the representations that have been made that the application has been amended not until midnight, but until 11 p.m. And the second point, just to make by way of observation, Mr. Elford, this licensing subcommittee are not going behind the licensing processing team's decision to allow this application to be consulted on and to come before this committee. the licensing subcommittee's role is to make a decision based on the 4 licensing objectives and consideration of this application, if indeed they deem it an appropriate application to grant or not grant, and what conditions are to be attached to it. So whilst I note that your initial submissions appear to be based on the licensing process, the licensing subcommittee are not making a decision on the licensing process. I just wanted that to be clear so that the committee are aware that they're not going behind that decision.
I think you've rather misunderstood what I'm saying. I'm not criticising the licensing process. This application has been accepted. It's a valid application, and we're here today.
Indeed. As long as you've acknowledged that, Mr. Elford, I think you can probably continue to address the committee in regards to the licensing objectives. I just wanted you to be clear.
But I just need to, because you've just come and given your opinion on that. I just need to be clear about this because it's really important. This application is for 2 things. It's for the festival and it's for the pavilion. And I'm saying that the primary problem is the application for the pavilion. This application can be made as one application, but whether it should or not is a completely different matter. And I'm not seeking to go behind the application process at all. In terms of the other point that you raised, Ms. Seb, about the hours having been reduced, I am about to come on to that. So I'll continue if I may. So the application was for alcohol until midnight, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, within a structure that's not designed for that kind of purpose, in a park, in a densely residential area. Now, the applicant has reduced those hours, but only very slightly. And you are now invited by the applicant to grant a licence permitting licensable activities until 11:30 p.m, 5 nights a week, and until midnight on a Friday and Saturday. They're in effect giving up just 30 minutes from the original application, and that is presumably, and in fact clearly, to align themselves with your core hours policy, and that came from PC Hewison. Now that is still, councillors, an enormous ask. A licence that operates until 11:30 p.m, sometimes later, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Again, within a structure, not fit for purpose, in a park, in a residential area. When you say that to yourself, the very sound of it should set alarm bells ringing. And it's a huge concern in relation to the licensing objectives. The second issue is that the application for off sales that is before you and how the licensing plans have been drawn up. The applicant has applied to provide off sales of alcohol, and if I've missed them withdrawing this aspect of the application, I do apologise, but I don't believe it has been, until 11:30 or midnight, depending on the day of the week. Now, I would ask you please to turn to the plans at pages 37 and 38 of your agenda packs. You will see that there are 2 plans. At page 37, there is a plan of Blondin Park with a red line around it. Page 38, there's a plan of the pavilion with a red line around the perimeter of the pavilion. There is also a small red line just by the scale on that plan, which shows that the red line means licensable activities. And here's the problem with that, councillors. If both aspects of this licence are granted, and at this stage it's not entirely clear that they should be, both of these plans will be appended to the premises licence. And without amendment to those plans, it's arguable that any sale of alcohol could take place anywhere within the park and be an on sale because of the red line around the park as a whole. Now, even if I am wrong about that, and I do not think that I am, and on sales are confined to the pavilion only, the applicant has applied for off sales, meaning that customers can take alcohol with them from the pavilion to wherever they please. And the only condition that you have been presented with that deals with that can be found at page 29, and I'd ask you to turn that up now, please. In a box under the heading off sales, there is a condition, and it is so important, this condition, that I will read it to you. Patrons are not permitted to remove drinks in open bottles / glasses or other open vessel from the licensed premises, save for consumption in external areas designated as Brentford Festival licensed area, a designated beer garden, or similar designated consumption area. If you would please turn back to page 37. The applicant is asking you to grant them a permission to sell drinks from the pavilion for people to take anywhere into the footprint of Blondin Park for consumption. They are possibly, perhaps unintentionally, turning Blondin Park into one giant beer garden. And it's not me that refers to a beer garden, it's the applicant's own condition. On any view, councillors, that is entirely unacceptable and will lead to a catastrophic undermining of all of the licensing objectives. Another point, the condition doesn't mention sealed or closed drinks. Now, presumably those could be taken anywhere at all. And lastly, where the designated beer garden or designated consumption areas are, we have absolutely no idea whatsoever. And the answer is, councillors, that they don't exist and they could be anywhere that the applicant chooses. Now, I could probably spend most of my day addressing you about the conditions that the applicant has proposed, but I want to ask you this question. Hearing everything that you have heard today from me about the scope of this application, where and when activities might be provided and alcohol consumed, do you really believe that the conditions at page 29 to the very top of page 31 do everything that they need to do to promote the 4 licensing objectives? We know what our answer would be, and we hope that yours is the same. I'm mindful of the time. This has been quite a long hearing already, and that you've listened very patiently to me. But I'm going to address you finally on what I think you might do instead. Now, your powers under the Licensing Act are extremely wide-ranging, and you have with you a very experienced legal advisor who can advise on what is and what is not permissible under the Licensing Act 2003. It's not for me to tell you what to do, councillors, but it's also not for you to effectively rewrite what is, in substance, a poorly thought through and ill-conceived application. Now, other people will address you about the festival, and others note with trepidation the concerns about the event management plan. What I invite you to consider is the same thing that my client and others invited the applicant to consider back at their very first meeting, and that is to refuse entirely the part of this application that relates to the pavilion. And if you do not feel that you can excise one part of the application from the other, then I'm afraid the only answer is to refuse the whole thing. And I do say that with some sadness, because I don't want to be the big bad lawyer stamping on a community event. And if I lived in this part of London, I might make the time to visit. And I was actually pleased to hear that this event is going to go anyway. But unfortunately for the applicant, the licensing objectives must come first. They will be undermined, and those are our submissions. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. Is there any other objector who want to speak? I do have some names. However, I am not sure if anyone wants to repeat anything. But I can see, well, I'll start with Gillian. Do you want to speak, or you are okay with what has been said?
I'm happy with what's been proposed, with what's been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Denisa, do you want to speak or you are happy with what has been said?
I'm happy with what has been said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Becky, can you hear me, Becky?
Unfortunately, Becky had to leave a few minutes ago for an appointment.
Okay, thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of her.
Okay, I've got Alice Brown. Are you happy with what has been said or you want to speak? Alice?
She's not here, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Sue. Sue, over to you. I think you want to speak. You've got your hand.
Yes, I do, please. It's to do with Linda brought up the fact it was a charity, and I know lots of other places which are also run by charities. My son got married in the Victoria Bars in Manchester, and in there they don't have a license. You bring your own alcohol, but they still raise money in other ways to restore the baths by hiring it out. And I think it's true of many of the charities around here, like the Log Cabin, doesn't have a license either, but people, if they're having a birthday party or whatever, the host brings their own alcohol. And if you do have, it is a very, very small public path. And if you have a party, people, especially if it's sunny, tend to go outside with alcohol, but there are also other people using the park at the same time. So I think you have to consider that it's not just going to be contained within the cabin itself. People will spread out, and that will have a detrimental effect on the park, which is very small. It's not like Gunnersbury, it's not like Walpole. And I would like the committee to consider those things. And I think other charities seem to manage to have events, charge for halls, but also not to have a license.
Thank you.
May I come back on that one, please, Chair?
Sorry, who is that?
Linda.
Well,
Linda, Linda, we get our go at the end.
Okay,
we have to let the chair run his meeting, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now, do you have any question to the objector, Nick Semper?
I don't. There we are, I'm back on. I personally don't, because I'm going to deal with it all in summer at the end, because I'm very conscious of everybody's time, sir.
Okay.
Can I just then say, for clarification from being the applicant, to Sue, yes, the charitable and people do bring in their own alcohol already. That does happen.
Okay,
it's all been explained right at the beginning why we.
Okay, you'll have your Linda. You'll have your sum up time. Hattie.
Okay.
Yes, yes, Chair. I just wanted to suggest perhaps Mr. Semper may want to confirm or make any representations in regards to the suggestion about off sales, and in particular the conditions that have been referred to by Mr. Elliott, so that those can be addressed. He may well do it now or at his summing up, but it's something to note.
Yes, certainly. I'll deal with that at summing up, if that's okay.
Okay, fine. Councillors, do you have any question to Luke or Sue?
Chair, I don't have any questions. I just wish to wait until you ask us about any conditions.
Okay. Okay, now we have come to the time when I'll be asking the party to sum up. So far, I can only think of the noise management plan and the event management plan copies to be submitted was asked by Mimi. The regulated entertainment obviously doesn't go on the patio that was confirmed. Is there any other condition that we talked about? Yes, Mimi?
Apologies. I just want to clarify, because I think it was a bit confusing with regards to the patio area. I want to clarify that we're of the view that no regulated entertainment should be associated with that patio area, regardless of the time. I appreciate what the applicant stated earlier, that they will not play music in the area after a certain time. But if we don't have a clear condition, how are they going to manage that? The applicant won't be able to be present at every single event, especially if they're allowed to hire that place out every single day of the year. And I think it would be much easier if we just have a condition that there's no regulated entertainment in the outdoor area apart from Brentford Festival. I, as one of the residents stated earlier, I appreciate this is not public nuisance, but it's a park. Some residents maybe want to use the park, and if they have an event, let's say 2 days, 3 days a week, and they'll happily play music, the other people that are using the park are not going to be able to enjoy the use of the park because they will be playing music in the outdoor area. And I think the noise should be restricted to the pavilion in the inside area. And it's the same with when it comes to the doors. The applicant made reference to the doors of that pavilion that they're facing. I forgot which side they're facing, but they're not facing the resident side. Again, I think we should consider if they have regulated entertainment until 11 or midnight, I think the condition with regards to the doors being closed should also be required. I don't want to be in a position that we'll have to install a sound limiter, and I think the doors and windows to be closed would be a condition that would be quite acceptable for them to stick to.
Sorry, the doors and windows after what time?
Well, it's a I'm just trying to.
For all time.
Well, I normally would ask at all times. Again, I don't know what level or what type of parties they're going to have. It seems like the use of this pavilion is going to change, so it's very difficult for me to say. I would rather have it at all times, but I don't know what ventilation they have in place or anything. If they have air conditioning units, or how are they going to facilitate that?
Can I just interrupt there, Chair? Would you mind me just coming back just while you're in mid-flow, Mimi, gives you a chance to think a bit more maybe. The way we hire out that room is by having the mirror room is one cost. Then if they want to have the area which you're calling it very politely the patio, we call it the tarmac road, they can move out onto that, and they will often sort of just, have drinks that they carry out, not allowed the glass, it's generally plastic. And they can stand there, but that's another price is added to that. And then a third price is actually using the field. So somebody mentioned before about it's not very clear. I think it was a solicitor or lawyer, he said it was not very clear because of the red lines of what was the park. The events we're talking about hiring it is actually within that sports area. It's not the whole park. But what I will also say, it is a 22-acre park. So when you're saying that people can't enjoy themselves using the park, if an event is happening, well, don't tell me that the small acreage that we've got in the middle, which is where it all happens, is going to affect people using the rest of it, the nature reserve, the playground, or whatever. And then there was something else. I've just lost my train of thought now. Sorry, somebody's come in front of me. I got distracted. I just think that, it was the off sales that was mentioned before. That again, we're talking about private events here. If it's a festival, that's different. But even that, people don't wander around with drinks. They sit down on the very expensive picnic benches we provided for them, and they watch what's going on, and they use the eateries, and they watch the music. They're not wandering around with a glass in the hand. It just doesn't happen, and it wouldn't happen, unless they've got a stall and they take it to their own store. I think I have lost my train of thought. I apologise. There was something else, but I can't remember what it was now.
Just to confirm, Linda. Are you happy with Mimi's suggestion of putting a condition that there's no regulated entertainment at the patio?
I think after a certain time, I think it's wrong to say it before 6 o'clock. And that's exactly it. You said that we're not around to monitor it. We always have somebody there until the end of the party. And then this is like the daytime parties. I'm not talking about the ones that have happened in the evening. For that, we have a couple of volunteers that come back in and check on it and also lock up. But a normal event, I don't think there should be that restriction. After 6 o'clock, I'm happy with that, but not before.
Okay, so no entertainment, regulated entertainment after 6 p.m. is also an acceptable condition. Yeah. Okay, Mimi, are you done with that?
Yes. Do you mind, sorry if it's for the applicant, do you mind confirming with regards to the windows and doors? Do you have any mechanical ventilation in place? If we add a condition with the
we have no windows. We have just 2 glass doors, UPVC type glass doors, which both could be opened or kept closed. In theory, there's air conditioning and fan and ventilation, but I'll be honest, it's not terribly effective. And in fact, I've got a question back into the people who put it in for us to get them to come and check it, because it's not terribly efficient. And so that's why people do want to open up the doors, let the fresh air in.
I appreciate, but that's my main concern. If you're going to play regulated entertainment until midnight with the windows and doors open,
I don't think
Can I come in here? Perhaps if we, Linda, would you consider a condition that doors and windows should be kept closed except for egress and entry after 1800 hours at night?
18, 16. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
so
okay.
that's the concession that's Mimi after, so that'd be great.
Thank you. All right then.
Okay, so that is also, that can also be added as a condition that doors, windows closed after 18 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Anand, I'm coming to you. Yes, switch on your microphone. Councillor Anand, switch on your microphone.
Just on this note, my concern is about public safety, and that if we are going to close the doors, that there is a proper ventilation system, and that is a condition.
Yeah, ventilation system, a proper ventilation system. Is that agreeable as well if we put that as a condition?
No, it just seems a little bit pedantic. I mean, there is one that's been installed in there. We've actually got 2 systems, one for each room. The one room works more than adequately. The second one, it's not as efficient. I have actually, as I say, got a call in. I've had it in for over 2 weeks now to the people who supply it. So, for example, when we're doing the exercise classes, they like to open the doors to let the fresh air in because there's just not enough cool air circulating. That's my fear of not getting it working all the time. I mean, I know it's only a 3-year-old system, but it does seem a bit quick for it to go. But it's in hand, and as I say, and we cover our own costs. This is not a council building. We pay for everything. So when you sort of say about the charities being able to do things, I think we do very well with what we're able to provide to the park.
Okay, Councillor Bakilini, you've got a question.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we're talking about a big event, which is the festival. Are we okay to add a condition giving Linda one big event per year? Are you happy if we add a condition to just restrict the festival once a year?
Mr. Semper, you want to say?
Yeah, I'll defer to Linda, but that's exactly what the application is about, ma'am. Just that one event a year. Yes, indeed, please.
By way of background, if I can also just say, is that we have, and I mentioned it in my opening as well, is that we do have one other event which is run by the Youth Engagement Programme who operate from the pavilion alongside me. They put on an event called Tribute Fest, and they do it once a year as a fundraiser for their charity direct. And it is live music. It's usually a Tribute Fest. It's Elvis or somebody like that.
And how big is this event, Miss Linda?
Well, we just go on a 10s license up until now because it is under 500 people. Well, 499. It's under that. But what would
Linda, Linda, if it's under a 10, it doesn't apply. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I know, but I just want it to be clear that they know that it's not just one event that happens. Then you'll get the saying, but you said.
Okay, I
Linda,
think that is clear enough. It's only one event, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
so one event. Also in terms of alcohol consumption indoors and outdoors, would it be okay if you would agree a condition for having only indoor alcohol consumption after a certain time?
Depends what time you're talking about, isn't it? So you're talking about us selling it, which has never been the issue. You know, I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it's never been the intention anyway to do that too much. So are you saying that if you're not affecting the people that are coming and bringing their own alcohol, are you, in your condition? Because at the moment, they all bring in their own alcohol, and it does exist. So, I don't want anything to be put back on them.
So in case we grant this application, it's not very clear yet about the alcohol consumption indoors and outdoors, and we're talking about safeguarding children.
Ma'am, the actual consumption of alcohol is not a licensable activity. It's the sale of it under regulated entertainment.
Yes.
I don't know if that helps at all.
Yes. So the sale of alcohol, could it just be a condition to sell alcohol only and consume it inside rather than take it out in the park? Because I was hearing about a garden party.
But
labeling
if
the park as a.
We have to be careful with that condition, otherwise you'll take out the festival.
No, okay, I'm not talking about the festival. I'm talking purely about any upcoming events in the pavilion.
Okay.
I mean, normally I would say yes to you. To be honest, I would say yes. That isn't a problem as a condition. Partly because I don't envisage what we'd actually like to be doing anyway. It's never, you go from one event to another and you just, get on with it, sort of thing. So yeah, you can put that down as a condition, I think.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we are done with the questions. I'm not taking any further question because objectors will have opportunity to sum up. So no more questions from anyone. So I think we are clear with if the committee was minded to grant, then the conditions are there. Does anyone want to clarify anything? Sean or Hattie, are you clear with whatever we have discussed?
If I can just check with Mr. Semper. So is it the case that Ms. Massey has agreed that there be no off sales from the pavilion?
Linda, do you want to come in on that? You agreeing that nobody can go in? Linda, Hattie's asking that you agree that no one can go into the pavilion except on festival day, buy alcohol and then take it away with them to consume. Correct. Okay, yes, absolutely. Well done, Hattie.
Okay. Thank you for that. In that case, we are coming to the summing up now. And I'm going to start by taking the responsible authorities. PC Houston, please, will start by summing up.
Thank you, Chair. The police have agreed core hours and conditions with the applicant. Police indices have been checked and there's been no incidents of crime disorder relating to the festival or the pavilion. I've checked the last 10 years. Police are concerned regarding noise nuisance from regulated entertainment in the pavilion and the fact there's no SIA potentially not being at the festival. And I'll leave it to you, good sales, to decide whether the premises licence is granted or not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Noise and nuisance officer, Mimi, your turn.
Thank you, Chair. I will. Would you possibly, I don't want to repeat myself with regards to my concerns. I've raised all those points earlier, but I just want to emphasize on the conditions that we agreed for the outdoor area, the windows and doors being closed, and the condition for the event management plan, and also that includes the noise management plan. I think those are my main concerns at this stage. And of course, if we do if the committee will consider to grant this license, if we continue to receive complaints. And I just want to reassure the residents that we will deal with them from a noise and nuisance perspective. We will respond, and we have a response service. So I just wanted to make sure that the residents are aware that we do have a noise service. That would be beneficial for them if we receive complaints.
Yeah, as Mimi said, the mechanism doesn't end here. If the committee did grant the license, there is a mechanism for complaints, and the license can come for review. So it can be revoked as well. So this is not the end of the story.
Of course. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The next one is the objectors summing up, and I'll start by taking Luke Alford, and after that, if anyone wants to add anything. Luke, you can sum up now, please.
Thank you, Chair. You've heard a lot today, and you've sat very patiently through it all. You've been told that there isn't really any change here, that nothing's going to change, that everything will stay the same, and that just is patently untrue. There is a huge change here from an unlicensed pavilion that's used until about 6 p.m. for children's birthday parties and the like, to a premises that's licensed to sell alcohol until 11:30 or midnight, depending on the day of the week. That is orders of magnitude change. You're told, councillors, that there is no evidence to back up what the residents are saying or that the residents' concerns. There's lots of evidence, 72 people's worth of evidence and concerns. But that's okay, because you're told that's all fear and speculation. And if the application was for children's parties until 6 p.m, I sincerely doubt that 72 local residents, and in some cases their partners, residents' associations, etc., would have been minded to write to you with such great concerns about this application and about the effect on the licensing objectives, which on any view is going to be negative. Now, you've also been told, and you've also stated yourselves, that residents can review this licence, they can make complaints, they can engage with the council, and those assurances are welcome. They really are. But why should residents have to do that when the opportunity exists to put this to bed right now? And the opportunity for you, councillors, is to refuse the part of this application that is really causing all of the problems, and that is the part that relates to the pavilion. You've talked about conditions, and I'm sorry to say that the conditions that exist already and that have been suggested, while in some cases helpful, do not go far enough to give you any sort of confidence that you should be granting the pavilion part of this application. The agreement that the applicant will provide on sales only in the pavilion is useful, but it doesn't get anywhere close to addressing the other issues, noise, dispersal, and simply put, the intensification and different use that this pavilion, that doesn't have planning permission for these uses, is going to be put. There would need to be extremely tight wording on what constitutes a private event. There would need to be extremely tight wording on how and when those events could be booked. And as the applicant has admitted before you, these events don't tend to go on until 11:30 or midnight in the evening. For the most part, they're done by 6 p.m. So in our submission, councillors, if you are minded to allow some form of use of the pavilion outside of the concept of the Brentford Festival, which I don't think broadly the residents are against, then there would need to be limits on timings, numbers of events, a whole host of things in order to ensure that the licensing objectives are not undermined. And as I said to you in my submissions, it is not for you to rewrite a badly put together application. This should have been 2 separate applications, and you can turn it as it should be into one application for the Brentford Festival by simply removing everything to do with the pavilion other than the Brentford Festival. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise, do you have something to add?
Yes, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I'm talking as a resident who lives at the entrance of one of the 4 gates of Blondin, on Blondin Park. And I can tell that when there are parties, private parties, there is no supervision during the parties, because I've been in a few of them, and I can tell that the volunteers are there to open and close the pavilion, but they don't look if someone leaves after they lock the pavilion, and they don't look if people take the rubbish, because another main problem is the rubbish, because the pavilion doesn't have the facilities to put the rubbish in their bins. So a lot of time we saw people from the pavilion dumping the rubbish in Blondin Park in the black sacks and leave it there. And we experience in the morning the mess is left thanks to the foxes. Another thing that we experience is the cars that are allowed in the park when the parties are on, because the pavilion has the keys to open the barrier. And this is another is not safe for the children, the dogs that walk and play in the park. And another point that I want to raise, because I've been in few parties, as I said, the ventilation. Inside the pavilion there is no good ventilation, so they have to leave the door open, and therefore most of the parties end up outside in the park. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Susan, you want to add anything? Sue?
I just want to go back on the size of the park itself, which is quoted as 22 acres. But in fact, a lot of that is the football field, the sports ground. So where the pavilion is, and that area is quite small, you have the nature reserve. So if you have a party that then spills out, it's then going into there. A lot of people just walk through the park. They're going to the allotments, they're going through, the Gumsbury boys are coming back or whatever. So it's very, very close to public paths as well. So you'll have people spilling out from a party into a public area. And it's a the actual area that you can sit on in the park is very, very small once you've taken out the football field and the nature reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now the turn for the applicant to sum up, Mr. Semper.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, okay, rather than not interrupting, but rather interjecting and dealing with things as they come up, I've saved most of it to the end, okay? You're told that actually this is one application for 2 separate things, and they should have been separated. There should have been one for the festival, one for the pavilion. Well, okay, actually it isn't. In our submission, it is one thing. It is for licensable activities in Blondin Park, full stop, of which there are 2 features. There's the pavilion and there's the one-day festival. Okay, we've heard about planning. Okay, section 182 guidance clearly tells you that planning is not a matter for the licensing authority. It should be properly separated. Secondly, if there were planning problems, permission going forward, we believe the planning is sufficient, but if not, that will be sorted out by the planning authority. And thirdly, the planning authority are themselves a responsible authority, a consultee in this process, and they have raised no objection to the use of the pavilion in the manner specified in the application. Right, so we talk about the plans. Page 37 shows the whole of the park. That plan refers to the festival date only. Okay, and the other one, the other plan, I think is it page 38. That is for the pavilion, when the pavilion is in use. Now, as concerns hours, Linda's already told you that she's no intention to have it as a public bar open from 10 in the morning until 11 o'clock or whatever it is, 11:30 at night every day. No intention of doing so. But we've applied for those hours because we would like the facility of those hours if they were ever required. She does not intend to use them to that extent. However, you are the licensing authority for Ealing, and if you wish to trim those hours on particular days of the week, then we respect that and will comply. Now, we've also been told that the licensing objectives will be undermined. No doubt about it. Wrote them down. Right, okay, on that I'd say this. They never have before. Now, why should they now? The chair has said, or the chair has correctly pointed out, that the licensing mechanisms don't end here. There is the Section 51 review, and there is Mimi's team for review that can be brought, and there is Mimi's team who are on it and have attended twice on one particular night recently at the mere suggestion that there was a statutory noise nuisance being created, and they found that there wasn't. I'd also say that this is not about the number of objectives. It's not about the number of representations you've received. It is actually an evidence-based decision-making process, and the test will always be on the evidence that is brought to the committee today. So in summary, I'd say that this hearing is simply about whether this small pavilion catering to private events, not public events with public wandering in and out, private hire events, and this valued and beloved successful free family fun day operating since 2005, both operating since their inception with no footprint whatsoever with the responsible authorities. Now, it's whether these operations using the hours in accordance with this operating schedule, including the comprehensive, what I'd submit is a comprehensive raft of conditions for what is proposed, whether it will undermine or promote the licensing objectives. Very clearly, our position is that it will not undermine them. There is no evidence, indelible evidence or history of noise nuisance, pollution, psychological harm to children, detriment to wildlife, risk to public safety, ASB, drugs, underage sales or crime and disorder, or indeed any other substantial cause for concern regarding the promotion of licensing objectives evidenced involving this application or this applicant and their entire history before you. That, in my submission, is an undeniable and self-evident fact, and consequently, I respectfully request that you do indeed grant this application with the amendments that Mimi and yourselves as a panel have suggested. So for this premises licence has sought, and that in going forward you wish the Friends of Boston Manor every success with this valuable not-for-profit community enterprise. Thank you very much indeed. You may wish to hear from Linda herself following that submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, you want to add anything? There is no need, well, but if you want to.
No, just very quickly, something from me. I thank everybody for being involved in all of this. I do appreciate that a number of residents have been a little bit upset, but perhaps not having all the information, which now today they've got more information. I won't go back and actually contradict some of the things that have been said because it's not necessarily true, but again, just thank you, everybody. Just understand that we are there for the community. There's no intention of it being commercial. We just want to give it a good opportunity, as we intended when we built the building, to have the local community be able to access it at a reasonable price and with fulfilling the needs of having toilets in the park, I might add. That was the original brief we set ourselves, make sure we get some toilets in the park. So thank you again for everybody's time. I'm sorry that I had the problem, ironic, that having got on first time, then suddenly couldn't get any sound. So for everybody that suffered waiting, for me, I apologise. But thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We have come to the end of the hearing. And now the subcommittee is going to retire with the legal advisor and the committee clerk, and we will deliberate. We will, I hope, we will come back before 2 o'clock. I will say provisionally 1:30, but it may take longer. So you can either wait or you can leave, but 1:30. If we cannot come by 1:30, then we will let you know. The clerk will inform the parties how long we are going to take. But I'm provisionally asking to come back at 1:30. Thank you.
Okay.